Rock and Roll Clones tonight at 11. From New York's #1 television news team, this is Eyewitness News with Roger Grimsby, Bill Butel, plus Spencer Christian and Storm Field.
Good evening, I'm Roger Grimsby. Here now the news. An undercover FBI agent who joined the underworld spent his second day in the witness chair. Testimony was given at the trial of 5 men accused of racketeering and other violations. Milton Lewis reports the lawman was working his way up the crime ladder.
That FBI agent infiltrated the underworld so well, he was offered a contract to knock off a marked gangster after 3 other mobsters were done in. The agent testified this afternoon. The witness, Joseph Pistone, gave these details to the Muir prosecutor, Barbara Jones. In May of last year, one of 5 defendants on trial, Benny Ruggiero, or Lefty Guns, sent the undercover agent to see Dominic Napolitano, a Bonanno crime family member known as Sonny Black. At a time, there was great trouble within the family. Sonny Black told me we took care of those 3 guys. They're gone. But Bruno got away. FBI agent Pistone related to Judge Robert Sweet and the jury in a crowded hush courtroom in which audio tapes were played almost all day. The 3 hoods done in, with only 1 body found, were listed as captains of the Bonanno family. 1, Alfonso Delicato, called Sonny Red, not to be confused with Sonny Black. Number 2, Philip Giacconi, or Lucky Phil. And number 3, Dominic Trinchera, who did not like to be called Fat Dom. Fat Dom weighed over 300 pounds. Sonny Black, who is himself missing, and is possibly among the fish in the sea, then asked the FBI agent to knock off Bruno and Delicato, nephew of the one slain victim whose body was found. And present, where the agent got this contract, he testified, was another defendant, John Sarasani, or Booby. Even though the FBI agent appeared to be giving some pretty damaging testimony, the defense indicated it was not terribly upset during the luncheon recess.
I think what you have to do is you have to be really very careful when you look at the type of evidence that's being presented here.
He didn't do any damage to me.
So far, do you think he'll damage you before he leaves?
Never. No. He had one of his cases all over with, so we go back to work to our families.
Pistone, an FBI agent since 1969, was known as Donnie Brasco, while passing himself off as a master thief and loan shark. He'll be followed on the stand by an equally excellent actor, another FBI agent adopted by the Bonanno family. He was known as Tony Rossi, real name yet to be revealed. Certainly, Brasco and Rossi made up quite a team, now well known to La Cosa Nostra, whichever forgets or forgives. Roger?
The jury has called it another night in the trial of 2 accused cop killers in Queens. After 2 days of deliberations, still no verdict. The former Black Panthers, Anthony Laborde and James York, are charged with the killing of Officer John Scarangella in a shooting last year. So those deliberations are to resume tomorrow.
It happened this morning before dawn. FBI confiscations in the Bronx and Rockland counties, and they were right out of the movies. In fact, they involved movies on pirate videotapes. Will Spence reports top box office draws were among today's $15 million take by the FBI.
Whoa, you move pretty fast for a big guy, you know that?
You've made life a song.
Something's funny going on here next door.
Rocky III, Annie, and Poltergeist. 3 films available on bootleg videotape. It is a big business, and that's why today the FBI cracked down.
It's estimated that $15 million worth of pirated cassette tapes were seized today at 3 locations, 1 in Rockland County and 2 in the Bronx.
About mid-morning this morning, FBI agents raided this videotape store in the Bronx. The FBI dispatch says they confiscated $15 million worth of video cassettes, including first-run movies. The lawyer for the owner of the store says not true. These are the sheets which the FBI gave you as receipts, or your client received as receipts?
That is correct.
And they indicate only 17 tapes were confiscated from this store.
That is correct.
So you don't know where they get the $15 million in bootleg figure?
I do not know.
So the lawyer for Leonard Spordone says the bulk of the big box office bootleg cassettes were not found in his Bronx storefront. The FBI says it made its big haul in the Bronx home of another man, Salvatore Pascal.
What portion of the pirate videotape business do you think you have snagged in these raids?
Frankly, a very small part.
So the FBI says the investigation is continuing, but the FBI concedes that the bootleg videotape business is growing by leaps and bounds. So here at Paramount Pictures, we ask the question, aside from after-the-fact confiscation, what can you do to stop it?
We are developing a system now that we hope to field test shortly that will enable us to trace the source of a videotape. That is, we'll be able to tell from which print the tape was made.
That new system takes effect in a couple of months. The man who runs that Bronx video store says he'll occasionally copy cassettes for friends, but if he sells or rents those copies, the FBI says he is breaking the law. By the way, one of the bootleg films confiscated today, Bambi. Bill?
Thank you, Will. Sabella Borges, the New York City Moral Squad officer who's making headlines for posing nude as Nina in a magazine of something less than distinction, has been charged formally now with misconduct, and she'll face a departmental trial in 2 weeks. The official charge is conduct prejudicial to the good order of the police department. Today she talked with Tracy Egan about the charges. She said she believes her superiors and reporters and their editors have made too much of the whole thing. She said she was not a police officer when the pictures were taken and that she posed nude to rebel. Ms. Borges also said she would not do the things that the fantasy, the woman, Nina, would do.
If you read the little paragraph, I had nothing to do with that. That was the magazine who picked out the name and picked out the fantasy. I think the fantasy is shocking a lot of people, and it's like, oh my God, 5 men at the same time. I read it myself, and I was shocked.
Shocked or not, if Officer Sabella Borges is found guilty of wrongdoing, she could be dismissed from the police department, she could be suspended, she could be reprimanded. Roger?
Ready for release, Carl Kaiser took a nap in the holding pen at the Brooklyn Criminal Court. Carl Kaiser is a heavy sleeper. When they called his name, he slept. Clifford Jones, who would rather be out than in, took his place and left. Now, Jones does not look like Kaiser, doesn't have his fingerprints, and signed out spelling Kaiser with a C. That's why Captain Edward Smolinski, who is in charge of the discharge, is now very deep in a scatological morass for having let this happen. The real Kaiser, with a K, has been released, and they are still looking for Jones. Keeping the wrong people out and keeping the robbers and the muggers out of Yankee Stadium is now a major cause for the Yankee boss, George Steinbrenner. Last week, Steinbrenner exploded after a family from Connecticut was held up and kidnapped on their way out of the stadium. The boss, George, promised an improvement. Mark Haynes is live now at the stadium, and he can tell because he doesn't have to read this stuff.
The boss, George, seems to have gotten his improvement, Roger. There have been no incidents so far this evening. The crowd is almost entirely in the stadium now. The incident that we were referring to happened in one of these parking garages like this over here. A Connecticut couple and their family, they got into their van. They were kidnapped by some hoodlums who were waiting inside the garage. You would think that if you ask people coming to the stadium tonight, are you concerned about it? Are you worried about it? Particularly the people who are parking in these garages, that they would be. However, when we asked them, we found that it takes more than just a few punks to scare the average New Yorker.
Not really. I have trust in the New York Police Department. My brother happens to be a sergeant in the police department.
No, I'm not worried. We came down. We had it all set up a long time ago, about 3 months ago, that we were going to come down today.
Kinney Company, the company that runs the garages around Yankee Stadium, has added a private security force. And inside the garage today, attendants admitted that they could use the extra help.
Generally around the stadium, you need a lot of cops around the stadium. Because a lot of kids, and they just, you know, some people you just look at and you can see they want to come in and break something or something. They look in the cars, you got to chase them out.
And outside the stadium, cops were very much in evidence.
City police have increased their personnel in the perimeter areas to ensure the safety of the public.
Are you satisfied from your position that enough is being done?
Yes, I am. I parked my car in one of the garages, and I'll be leaving late tonight. And I am not apprehensive at all.
Well, there you have it. That's the official story. There have been no incidents tonight. They claim that there are enough cops around here to protect people leaving. Kenny has hired a private security force to protect people inside the garages themselves. And I suppose only time will tell. And, you know, we'll find out as time goes by whether this works, whether the cops stay here, whether Kenny keeps the private security force on duty. Reporting live from Yankee Stadium, Mark Haynes, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Mark. Apparently no danger on that ground, but coming up next, we'll have the story of danger up above. Louis Young reports that you may not be safe walking down the street. He'll tell you why.
Bob Blanchard will tell you how to protect yourself from a new home protection system. Then later on, this report.
Are you willing to listen to and understand other people's opinions? Your answer to that question could say something about your personality. I'm Doug Johnson. This evening, I'll tell you why.
You've got a lot riding on this letter, and you're going to hand it over to the post office? Federal Express has an alternative.
This Hart's flea and tick killing collar does more than stop fleas and ticks. It can help stop a car. The Hart's 2-in-1 Plus nighttime safety reflecting collar. The first flea and tick collar made to reflect oncoming headlights so your pet can be seen at night even 400 feet away. 5 months around-the-clock flea and tick protection plus nighttime safety from cars. The Hart's 2-in-1 Plus reflecting collar. Now the famous Hart's flea and tick killer can be a lifesaver, too.
Like most mothers, I'm a worrier. And when my Cindy's teacher called and said she was having trouble seeing the board, I took her straight to the Pearl Vision Center. The doctor gave Cindy all kinds of tests and then took the time to talk to me. This is my baby. Do you think I'd trust her eyes to just anyone?
Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
That's fruit salad, but that's not cottage cheese.
You're right. It's Polly-O ricotta cheese, and it tastes great. You ought to get to know Polly-O.
Most people put cream cheese on bagels.
I don't. I like Polly-O ricotta cheese better. You ought to get to know Polly-O.
Polly-O ricotta cheese, great tasting, all natural, no coloring, no preservatives, and easy to digest. You can't beat a cream cheesecake.
I just did, with Polly-O ricotta cheese. You ought to get to know Polly-O.
The Polly-O family of fine products, serving you since 1900.
The city steps up its war on broken-down buildings. They're an eyesore, yes, but beyond that, these buildings that crumble can be a deadly hazard to the people who walk beneath. So the city's battle with the landlords has begun. And Louis Young tells us victory is not going to be easy.
The work is underway at 66 Court Street in Brooklyn, where a woman died only last week after being hit by a piece of broken masonry from the 16th floor. The building owners have good reason to hurry because the city is now in court, demanding sidewalk sheds and scaffolds be started this week, or the owners pay for the city to do it for them. But the building on Court Street in Brooklyn is only one of 629 buildings pinpointed as unsafe by the city buildings department. That building is one of them. 629 buildings, all declared unsafe by their own owners. The report was submitted under a 1980 city law requiring inspections of all buildings over 6 stories. This report says this building has slipped and cracked lintels over windows on Prince Street and Broadway and a deteriorated stone cornice 1 floor over Broadway. At a warehouse over on West 17th, there's a report of masonry and cornice cracks 8 and 9 floors above the sidewalk.
I think it's up to the people that own the building to take care of it, and it's up to the city to see that they do it.
Does that bother you at all?
Certainly it bothers me, because I'm walking along here and I want to feel safe.
If this law was not passed, we would never have known of these circumstances. The owners wouldn't have known about these situations. Now we are aware of it, we are going to do something about it. Otherwise, without this law, we never would have known.
The law was prompted by the death of a college student from falling masonry 3 years ago in Manhattan. Since then, more than 5,000 reports have been filed with the city, including the 629 declaring unsafe conditions. But more than 3,000 reports haven't been filed yet. Just to give you an idea of the size of the job, this is the paperwork for just the hazardous buildings in Manhattan alone. Those buildings that have complied with local law 10, filled out their reports and designated themselves hazardous. The building department has to take a look at each one of these reports and then make sure the problem in the building is fixed. That process now is just getting underway.
Well, we are going to issue summonses as rapidly as possible. 1,500 we're trying to shoot for in the next month. They will be brought into court. The court will fine them and direct them to make the necessary repairs.
But the city cannot solve this problem by taking 1,000 or even a few hundred building owners to court. They can't afford it. They are hoping to start a few court cases and wait for the remaining violators to voluntarily comply. Until then, heads up. Roger.
The South Bronx fire escape was the scene of a murder last night. 28-year-old Ronald Mickle was found shot to death on the platform just outside of his window. Police say the killer was someone Mickle had invited in. The two apparently argued. Mickle tried to escape by use of the fire escape, failed, and had been shot several times. Police still have no idea who the visitor was. On Long Island, police are trying to discover the identity of a woman found strangled in the parking lot of a Valley Stream shopping mall. Police say the woman was nude. She was found in the lower level of the parking lot at Alexander's, described as white, in her 40s, about 5'4", brown eyes with reddish-brown hair. Police are asking for anyone with information to call 516-535-7788. The telephone number again, 516-535-7788.
Each of us is concerned about the rate of crime in this area, and a lot of us try to protect ourselves by fighting back, protecting our homes with burglar alarms. But consumer reporter Bob Blanchard sounds a warning now against one alarm system that doesn't do its job in fighting crime.
New York City is a violent town. Murder is an everyday occurrence. Robberies happen quicker than you can count them. But people are fighting back. Some buy a gun. Others, like Joe Supersad, buy burglar alarm systems. Joe bought the Vertronics bug system. According to the manufacturer, any breaking noise, breaking glass, a clicking sound, forceful entry sounds will set the alarm off. But there's a problem. Apparently the device is simply too sensitive. I'm going to take this microphone, put it right near this light switch. You probably won't even hear it when I flip it on and off, but the burglar alarm system will, and the burglar alarm system will go off. Let's see. How annoying has all of this been?
It's very annoying. It drives my son hysterical sometimes. Sometimes you sleep in during the night and you get up to think somebody's breaking, and it's unnerving. I just packed it up and put it in the box. I wanted to send it back to the company.
The folks at the Better Business Bureau says Joe is not alone. They've received many complaints about the bug system.
One woman, at least, had gone to visit her sister up in Canada, and she said the neighbors were just raising Cain when she got back because the unit kept going off.
We tried to call the company for an interview, but we didn't get very far.
The number you have reached has been temporarily disconnected.
And so we decided to drop in on the company here at their headquarters in New Rochelle. Well, the building, it's been abandoned. The company, it's gone. It looks to me almost homemade. How much did you have to pay for it?
He said he's getting a bargain for $539.
It's called the Bug Device, and it's put out by the Vertronics Corporation. Hundreds of people from Rhode Island to New Jersey are stuck with them. But there's something you can do about it. The New York Attorney General's office is investigating, and he wants to hear from anyone who's upset. Write to him. Don't call. The Attorney General's office at 40 Garden Street in Poughkeepsie, New York, 12601. Attention, Nick Guerin. That's New York Attorney General's office, 40 Garden Street in Poughkeepsie, 12601. If enough evidence of fraud is uncovered, if any evidence of fraud is uncovered, criminal action may be taken. Roger?
When we continue, we'll be talking about what's odd about some New Jersey cars.
And 1 year after the air controller strike, is the air well controlled? I'll have a report on that.
Propane. Compressed natural gas. Ethanol. Ford Motor Company automobiles do not run on gasoline alone. Ford is the leader in the United States in alternative fuel technology. In California, a fleet of Ford Escorts is running on methanol, a fuel that can be produced from coal. And there's a lot more coal in the United States than oil.
Can I? Yes, you can. The now wine sensation from Italy. Canai. Deliciously different. Red, white, rosé. Irresistible. C-A-N-E-I. Canai wine. Anytime, every time, it's what's happening. Canai, the one from Italy.
The New York Post introduces new Double Chance Wingo, the game that's double dynamite. There's 100
$100,000 each week.
Double your chances to win.
Your Wingo game card is coming in the mail. Keep it, save it. Play your post-Wingo numbers daily. Circle them all, and you win or share $50,000. Plus, play your own 2 lucky numbers every day.
Another $50,000 to be won each week.
That's $100,000 weekly. Check the mail for your double chance Wingo game card. It's double dynamite.
This week at ShopRite, USDA Choice Bottom Round Roast just $1.77 a pound, and Top Round London Broil just $2.27.
Once again, the odd-even license plate distinction has come to the aid of New Jersey drivers. It worked a few years ago to shorten lines when they were waiting at gasoline stations. Now it's working to cut the lines waiting for the annual auto inspection. The state survey says the average wait is down to about 35 minutes. The new system went into effect yesterday. Owners whose plates end in an odd number or have no numbers at all do not have to get their cars inspected this year. That's expected to remove from the inspection line about 500,000 cars. And Long Island Railroad officials want you to tell them when their air conditioning doesn't work. Anyone who rides the LIRR knows some cars always turn into saunas in the summer. Now the road is leaving forms on train seats for commuters to report defective air conditioning. Send the forms to the Long Island Railroad Public Affairs Department, Jamaica Station, Queens, New York 11435, and then you wait.
August 3rd, 1981, just a year ago, the Professional Air Traffic Controllers Organization, PATCO, went on strike. And it was the most important story of the day.
The strike is now 11 hours old, and the effects are mounting. Half of this country's commercial aircraft have been grounded.
A year ago today, 11,000 air traffic controllers went on strike in picket lines formed here at LaGuardia Airport and at other airports all around the country. For a time, it appeared as if the PATCO strike would be able to shut down the entire airline industry. President Reagan responded by firing all of the 11,000 controllers who went on strike.
I must tell those who failed to report for duty this morning, they are in violation of the law, and if they do not report for work within 48 hours, they have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated.
It was the beginning of the end of PATCO. Air traffic was curtailed almost immediately. The pressures built on President Reagan to back down and let the union live, but he didn't. Instead, the control towers of the country were manned by supervisors and others who kept the planes going at a slower pace and a lighter schedule. The planes flew, but the union was dead, and so were the hopes and careers of thousands of air traffic controllers.
Some people have committed suicide. Some people have a lot of divorces, and there's a lot of problems happening all over the country because of the strike.
There are not as many flights into and out of LaGuardia Airport today as there were before the PATCO strike. For the sake of safety and efficiency, and of course because of the economy too, many airlines have had to cut back on the number of planes they put into the air every day. But the people in the control towers of the country, supervisors, those controllers who did not go on strike, newly hired controllers, and for a while, military air controllers on temporary duty, these people have kept the planes of the country flying. And most of the people who use those planes feel the system is safe.
Seems the same as it was a year ago.
I feel comfortable about it. It's a safe and it's a much smoother operation.
Conditions have never been better. Since the strike started, things got better and they've stayed that way.
Despite a very difficult year, we are on schedule and we're making progress.
For all that, Mr. Lewis admits that the Transportation Secretary, Drew Lewis, admits the system is only about 90% rebuilt. Reports of overwork in the control towers persist, and Congress is on the verge of giving those controllers who did not strike pay increases or bonuses of maybe 10%. The administration is adamant, though, those controllers who walked out a year ago will not work again in control towers. Roger?
Coming up next, what may be a most significant development in the Middle East.
And Josh Hall takes us on a tour of New York City's floating museum, the new one, when we continue after this.
Every
Every day, people face the moment of truth. The moment they decide if their dishwasher detergent did the job.
If I have to rewash the glasses.
Or didn't quite do the job.
Spots. I have to rewash the glasses.
Try Cascade. Most detergents can leave drops that spot, but Cascade sheeting action leaves glasses virtually spotless. Cascade's moment of truth.
Look at that shine. Now that's beautiful.
Is Cascade's moment of glory.
I hear the trumpets blare again.
Ziegfeld, Busby Berkeley, Roxy. The days of the musical spectacular are back, live on the great stage of Radio City Music Hall. Handsome men, gorgeous showgirls, lavish sets and costumes. They're all part of the musical hit Encore at Radio City Music Hall. The critics are cheering, the audiences are cheering. See it now, and you'll cheer Encore.
And on the next chart, we see that expenses for the period...
Deer Park, that's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is, because it's 100% pure spring water and nothing else but.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Deer Park has no chlorine, no additives, no harmful impurities. There's nothing but deliciously pure water.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Don't miss these super savings all this week at Key Food. Wishbone salad dressing, Italian or deluxe French in the 8-ounce bottle, just 59 cents. PepsiCo.
There is word now that the United Nations, without waiting for Israeli approval, has ordered observers into Beirut. Whether or not they will be able to take up the positions assigned them without Israeli cooperation is, of course, a question. Some shooting in Israeli flyovers marked today in a much battered Beirut. Not enough to prompt a pronouncement that another truce has been broken. The PLO claims it can hold out another 6 months in the Israeli-made rubble, which is now their defense. Nobody thinks they will be given that much time, as Israeli armor is now little more than a mile from the PLO command center in West Beirut. A Palestinian newspaper quotes U.S. envoy Philip Habib as saying he is tired and ready to quit if a negotiated settlement isn't achieved soon. There is no confirmation of that. Israel, well aware of Washington worry over her continued military press, says they have no alternative given the lack of negotiation progress. An 18-year-old Scots guardsman, Philip Williams, was the only British soldier still missing in the Falklands. Williams wandered into Bluff Cove, and he was asked where he has been since the first day of fighting. Williams said he was lost. It can be presumed other questions have followed.
An aircraft carrier that's survived many of this country's wars has a new assignment. The Uss Intrepid is the newest museum in New York City. Josh Howell tells us it's a fitting end to a noble past.
The USS Intrepid carried more than 3,000 men who somehow managed to hold her together after torpedoes ripped through her hull and kamikazes ripped through her deck. After one attack, her entire flight deck, filled with aircraft, was on fire. She was listing at 15 degrees. The men repaired her and returned to the attack. She was said to have been struck more than any other ship, but she sank or damaged 289 enemy ships and destroyed 650 enemy planes. In 1962, she recovered astronauts from a Mercury space capsule and later a Gemini space capsule. She saw action in Vietnam. As of today, the people of New York and elsewhere will come to see her. She has become the U.S. Naval Sea Air Space Museum. This is the main flight deck of the Intrepid. It's 900 feet long enough to lay 3 football fields end to end. It now has a fresh coat of paint, but it also has some scars, vestiges of bombs and kamikaze planes which crashed into it. Did the bomb go off near you?
Oh, yes. There was a crane in front of this office. If that crane wasn't there, it took all the shrapnel. The only thing I got was the door exploded and it hit me in the chin. That's about all. Everything was all right until the 5 inches went off. You know, they were a distance away. Then the 40 millimeters went off. You know, they were getting closer. Then when the 20 millimeters went off, well, forget about it. The Japs were real close.
In 1943, a torpedo struck the rudder of the Intrepid. There was no way to steer her. She was left at the mercy of the sea. So the men gathered together odds and ends, bits of canvas, and made an enormous sail. They hoisted that sail right here on the main flight deck, and using the sail, they steered her back to port. That was Pearl Harbor, 5,000 miles away.
And I'll never forget Captain Sprague saying got over the PA and said, no
no Jap subs would ever follow us because we had no course. Just steering with 2 screws and a sail, and that was it.
After 39 years, she has come alongside Pier 86. She has some stories to tell. Josh Howell, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Still ahead, Tommy John, George Steinbrenner, round 2.
George Steinbrenner talks often. Miss Universe is not talking. She has her reasons. We'll talk about them when we continue.
At A&P, just look for this green pea.
This week, cool off with Pepsi because Pepsi's got your taste for life. And right now, our newspaper coupon and a single $7.50 purchase gets you your choice of any 2 6-packs of Mountain Dew, Diet Pepsi, Pepsi Light, or Pepsi Cola for only $2.99 in the 12-ounce cans. Or Keebler Townhouse crackers at only 69 cents in a 12-ounce box at A&P.
Come on in, we'll watch our P's and Q's.
When my husband has a hemorrhoid flare-up, you'd think he was a bear. More doctors recommend Anusol suppositories for hemorrhoids. Anusol is not the one you hear about a lot, but it is the medication more doctors recommend. Anusol soothes, lubricates, in many cases temporarily relieves the occasional symptoms of inflammation like pain, itch. Anusol can also turn a bear into a honey.
Ah, Anusol from Park Davis, the suppositories more doctors recommend.
Light and lively. Light and lively.
It's the only half the fat slice that starts with rich Kraft natural cheese. Now an even richer blend from Kraft's cheddar family, or half the fat and all the richness of Kraft. Remember the name.
Light and lively.
From Kraft.
Who says Dynamo is dynamite? Women with tough laundry problems. Listen.
Chicken grease. Just regular, normal dirt.
My daughter's party dress. It had grease on it from the car door.
Dynamo's powerful formula penetrates deep to get your whole wash a dynamite clean.
I just use Dynamo, period. Dynamo gets the greasy stains out and gets my whole wash clean.
I think it's the best thing on the market.
Dynamo penetrates deep for a dynamite clean.
Dynamo is dynamite.
There is a new Miss Universe, and she came to New York today. She's 18 years old. Her name is Karen Baldwin, and she won the title last week in Lima, Peru. She comes from London, Ontario. This is her first trip to New York. Karen declined comment on current events. She said, "I don't believe beauty and politics mix." That's our first people in the news tonight. Second one is a name from the distant and lovely past, Brigitte Bardot, who made movies come alive for so many of us such a long time ago. A West German newspaper wrote that she is a sex star of loose morals. Brigitte Bardot doesn't think that's an adequate description of her, and it never has been. So she is suing the newspaper for $30,000. Roger.
In the 1930s, when Clark Gable appeared in It Happened One Night without an undershirt, 7 fabric mills closed down because of the drop in the sales of undershirts. Given that, it is now predicted that because in the movie E.T., Elliot appears in long underwear, the sale of long underwear will climb. But then long underwear always climbs.
Jockeying his way into your hearts with a story of sports. Spencer.
You know, I grew a mustache when I was a kid because I admired Gable. I always thought of myself as sort of a dark Gable. The Mets took it on the chin today from the last place Chicago Cubs. Doug Bird held the Mets to only 3 hits as the Cubs took a 5-0 victory. But wait, the Mets did have a highlight. They turned their first triple play in about 16 years. Here's how it happened. Bottom of the 8th, Gary Woods on first, Jay Johnstone on second, Larry Boy at bat, Pat Zachary on the mound. Here's the pitch, fly ball to shallow left field. Bob Baylor runs back, makes the catch, spins and fires to Wally Backman at second for 2. Over to Dave Kingman at first for 3. Mets' first triple play since September 28th, 1966. But the Mets lost the game. Can you believe the Yankees' schedule this week? They're playing double headers 2 nights in a row, tonight and tomorrow night, to make up for games that were weathered out at the beginning of the season. The first game of this evening's twin bill with the Chicago White Sox is just underway right now, and we'll have highlights of both games at 11. Well, the sparks continue to fly off the field at Yankee Stadium. Tommy John is still fuming over his demotion to the bullpen, wants to be traded. He even went on a late-night network talk show last night to air his grievances. George Steinbrenner says John should shut up and let his pitching do his talking. Never a dull moment in Yankeetown. So Richie Powers went over to the stadium today to find out how the rest of the team is affected by this latest intra-squad skirmish.
With 64 games to play for the Yankees, it's not over yet. Forget the latest tempest between clubhouse and front office. The real Yankees know that all they have to do is play great baseball and forget all the nonsense.
I think that there's so many things that have happened if you've played here that another little disturbance doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think that the new guys are starting to see that there's a lot of things that happen playing for the New York Yankees, and you got to learn to roll with them and learn to deal with them if you're going to win.
You got 65 to go. Can you pick up 6.5 games?
Well, we've done it before. We've been in this position a few times since I've been here, and we've always managed to come out on top. And
it seems like it's somebody different every day. So, you know, you just go out and you know we have a doubleheader and get yourself ready for that.
Can you lead the clubhouse in that attitude?
Yeah, I think so. We're all professionals. We know when you're getting criticized or when you're not doing well, it's a little tough. But we know what we have to do on the playing field. That's the most important thing. What happens off the field is something we cannot control.
We have 2 months to go, 60-some games, and I don't think 1 week's going to make us or break us.
Can you lead this team all the way to the World Series and win it?
Who, me?
Why not?
I'm just doing what I can do, basically, and one man can't carry any team. No one man has ever carried a team. I'll just continue to do the kind of job that I've been doing, and so far it's got us into 4th place. So looks like a lot more people are going to have to chip in.
So you've heard the latest tempest in the teapot called Yankee Stadium means nothing as far as the rest of the season is concerned. All the Yankees have to do is forget all that nonsense and win, win, win. Simple, isn't it? From Yankee Stadium, Richie Powers, Eyewitness Sports.
All right, Richie, how about some encouraging Yankee news? Yankee catcher Butch Weiniger, who was hospitalized last Monday with severe headaches, says the headaches are subsiding, the nausea he was suffering is going away, and he's looking forward to going home soon. Ancient Louis Tiant is back in the major leagues, and he just might find himself in the World Series this year. The California Angels, tied for first place in the American League West, have acquired the veteran right-hander for their stretch run, and he's scheduled to start this Thursday night against the Minnesota Twins. By the way, El Tiante's age is listed at 41, but most baseball veterans believe he's closer to 50. If you enjoy marathons, baseball marathons, and you must have loved last night's Pirates-Cardinals game. It was the longest game in the National League this year, going 17 innings before the Pirates came up with the winning runs. Here's how it happened. Top of the 17th, score tied 2-2. Johnny Ray at bat. He'd gone 0 for 7 all night, but now he's 1 for 8. A line drive triple down the left field line. It rolls all around the wall there while Dale Barra and Omar Marino both score. The Bucks take a 4-2 lead, and they take a 4-2 win. And that's how it ended in the wee hours of the morning. On to the football scene. One local star has returned to camp while another is still holding out. Gary Jeter is back in the Giants camp, but the reasons for his sudden departure Sunday afternoon have not been revealed. Meanwhile, free safety Darrell Ray of the Jets says he will not report to camp until a new contract is agreed upon between the owners and the Players Association. Ray says there is more to his holdout than money, but he would not elaborate. Well, if you had any doubt at all that Don King is the most powerful figure in the world of boxing, consider this. U.S. District Court yesterday gave King the go-ahead for the Mike Weaver-Michael Dokes WBA heavyweight title fight, scheduled for the last week in October. If Dokes should win, then King would control both heavyweight title holders, since both Dokes and WBC champ Larry Holmes are under contract to King as their exclusive promoter. And Roberto Duran, who had signed with Don King and Bob Arum to fight 2 different guys on the same day on the same network, has made his choice. King is in and Arum is out. Now, 46-year-old Manhattan man was the first winner of the New York Marathon Lottery today, thereby getting a chance to drive himself to exhaustion by running 26 miles through the 5 boroughs this fall. Mayor Koch, the would-be governor, reached into a lottery drum today with 40,000 names in it and pulled out the name of Charles Countryman. That's his real name, Charles Countryman. An additional 7,999 names will be picked later to join the other 8,000 qualified runners for the marathon on Sunday, October 24th. That's sports for now. We'll have more tonight at 11. Roger?
Two top Australian golfers, Billy Dunk and Ted Ball, are taking Dan Jenkins' fantasy a step beyond. And they hope to get in the Guinness Book of Records as well. A one-hole golf match from the Sedunda Golf Club in South Australia to the Kagubal Club in Western Australia. 908 miles. They expect it to take 3 to 4 weeks. Par for the 1,597,550-yard hole has been set at 7,173.
Coming up next, what is par for your personality? We have a quiz.
Part of Doug Johnson's report on how you can become a more interesting person.
At Siemens, we take time putting together exciting furniture packages, like this colonial living room. Sofa, love seat, and 3 tables, separately $1,040. Siemens package, $699. Or this colonial bedroom. Dresser, cabinet door, hutch mirror, chest, and full queen headboard, separately $1,100. Siemens price, $799. We take time putting together a package because you're going to live with it a long time.
Siemens first, the furniture department store. At A&P, just look for this green pea.
Check out this week's screen price specials on all flavors of Jell-O frozen pudding pops. Only $1.79 in the package of 12. Also, durable hefty tall kitchen bags, only $1.69 in the package of 30. And look for the A&P vitamin sale. 9 varieties, buy one, get one free. Great savings summertime, anytime at A&P.
Come on in, we'll watch our P's and Q's.
When the color in a picture is so close to nature, it can tempt a bee. So real, the picture practically comes to life. And so true, it can even fool an expert. Then you know it's the color of Kodacolor 2 film. Color's so good, it may surprise you. Kodacolor 2 film, from Kodak, of course.
Imagine the problems you'd have if you lost your traveler's checks and wallet overseas.
I want to cancel only my credit cards. I want to send a cablegram. Rapido Speedo. Hello? I have no cash.
If you want the only traveler's check with 5 services to help protect your vacation, American Express is worth asking for by name.
I should have asked for American Express.
Prego. President Reagan was in the air today. His day had a campaign flavor as he flew aboard Air Force One to Connecticut and to Iowa. In the Corn Belt, he promised farmers that better days are on the way. And then it was on to Hartford, Connecticut, where Mr. Reagan addressed the 100th anniversary National Convention of the Knights of Columbus. He carried with him a speech that touched a wide range of familiar issues that sliced to the heart of that Catholic organization's politics. He urged support for a constitutional amendment to allow prayer in schools and for the plan to grant tuition tax credits for families with children in private schools. The loudest response came when the president asked the Knights of Columbus to support him in fighting what he called the national tragedy of abortion. Mr. Reagan said he personally is against abortion on demand because no one knows exactly when life begins.
If it's true we don't know when the unborn becomes a human life, then we have to opt in favor that it is a human life until someone proves it isn't.
Mr. Reagan's campaign-style blitz today, one of many to come before November, and it dealt mostly with domestic issues. Roger?
According to the Census Bureau, the U.S. will have a voting age population of 169 million by the November elections. This resulting from a combination of the baby boom reaching a voting age and that age having been reduced to 18. And incidentally, the Bureau reports only 4 states where men outnumber women. Listen, ladies, they are Alaska, Hawaii, Nevada, and Wyoming. No matter what age you are, you're always interested in improving your personality, we presume. Everyone wants to achieve a winning personality. In a series of special reports, Doug Johnson is helping you reach that goal. Today, part 2, some important questions you have to ask yourself.
All right, Roger, indeed today we are going to have a quiz. The answer could help you better understand why you may not have a winning personality. It's a problem that can make you feel uninteresting to other people. So listen to the questions and the answer. All of us at some time in our lives have felt out of place among a group of people, usually because we don't feel interesting.
Unfortunately, for most people, it happens too often. There are zillions of suggestions on how you can change your life. Walk into any bookstore, you'll see racks filled with books on this subject. But we have some simple tips on how you can change your life and make it better almost overnight.
Came up with a fairly
Dr. Robert Filowich has spent countless hours at his Center for Behavior Therapy in Scarsdale, helping people make their lives more interesting. Part of it is understanding that we all share the same basic problems.
The true fact is that the person sitting across the office from you at their desk, seemingly so happy and together, they have just as many problems as you do. And it's not necessarily the case that they're more secure than you are. They're probably experiencing the same kind of insecurities and fears of rejection that you fear.
Filowich helped us develop a simple personality quiz to help pinpoint some of the more common problems people have. You may want to grab a pencil and jot down some notes if the situations apply to you. And pay particular attention if you answer no to the questions. The first question.
Are you able to admit to friends when you have made a mistake?
If your answer to this was no, that you can't admit to friends when you make a mistake, then that may mean that you're feeling as though if you make a mistake in front of your friends and they find out, they will think terrible of you. And that's just not the case. It just doesn't work out that way. In fact, people like you more when you make the assertion that you made a mistake.
Do you accept compliments well?
If you answered no to this question again, essentially what you're doing when someone gives you a compliment is saying, you may say something like, oh, there was really nothing. And what you're really doing is telling these people that what I did was nothing and your compliment is nothing. They're giving you something. Accept it graciously, and that will make them happy that you're accepting their compliment.
Do you accept criticism well?
If you answered no to this question, that you don't accept criticism well, then probably what's happening is you again are feeling as though you're being rejected. And you're feeling as though your entire personality rests upon the fact that someone else has to tell you how to do things and that you're inadequate. The bottom line is, people do have suggestions sometimes which can, in fact, help you improve on what you're doing. And just because you may not do something as well as someone else doesn't mean you're inadequate. It means that that particular thing you may need improvement on. Other things you do very well on.
Are you willing to listen to and understand other people's opinions?
Well, if you answered no to this question so that you're not willing to listen and understand other people's feelings, what's probably happening is that in a short period of time, you'll find out that there's not going to be many people who want to speak with you. And the basic idea is that every conversation that exists, there are two components, the speaker and the listener. And if you're not a good listener, in a short period of time, not many people want to speak with you.
Do you like yourself?
If you answered no to that, you don't like yourself. The bottom line is that probably everyone else you know, or most everyone else you know, will not like you either. They will probably, if you don't have respect for yourself, they won't have respect for you either. That's a truism. If you get to learn to like yourself, and you really will know if you do, when you don't have to prove that you like yourself, that's the key. If you like yourself without having to prove it, then you will be a happier person, and others will like you as well.
Now, if your answers to our personality quiz proved you need to make some adjustments, don't feel bad. A lot of people here in the studio flunked too. There's a very good chance others will see you as a more interesting person, and tomorrow we're going to show you a group of people already changing their lifestyles, and they claim they're making a lot of progress. Roger?
When we continue, reports of a Haitian slave trade.
And we'll tell you why people in a town on Long Island are breathing a little easier tonight. That gives you a clue if you look at the screen. We'll have that story in a moment.
Jets' Great Moments, brought to you by Coleco.
1968. Quarterback Joe Namath passes New York to a 37-15 win over San Diego. The victory has great significance as it clinches the Jets' first division title in their 9-year history.
It's Donkey Kong, the arcade sensation, and now you can play it at home.
Hang on, sweetheart. I'm gonna save you.
Now you can play Donkey Kong on your ColecoVision, Atari VCS, or Intellivision video game system. Donkey Kong has multiple screens, just like the arcade game.
You're not gonna stop me, you stupid ape!
Play Donkey Kong on your ColecoVision, Atari VCS, or Intellivision video game system.
Don't worry, darling! I'll save you!
Help me!
Who won?
Don't ask.
What are you eating?
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds? Do you know about Sunlight cooking oil?
No.
Yes.
Sunlight's made from 100% sunflower seed oil.
So?
So it's lower in saturated fats than all the leading oils, with no cholesterol.
And it tastes great.
Well, that I know.
Sunlight, all natural from the seed of the sunflower.
You can change your luck today. 2 games for a buck to play. More time to make your picks. Play Lotto Saturdays till 6. Play Lotto. 2 games for just a buck. 2 chances to change your luck. But to win it, you got to get in it. So get in and try to win today. Play Lotto. L-O-T-T-O. Play Lotto.
If you wish to believe Iraq, they have now turned back 5 Iranian attacks since July 15th. President Hussein of Iraq also says the U.S. is now leaning toward their side, while the USSR is becoming increasingly friendly with Iran. There seems to be a shift in Panamanian policy towards the U.S., the new government reversing past policy by saying all inter-American organizations should include the United States. And a human rights panel in Geneva has received a report from the Anti-Slavery Society. It says Dominican border guards round up Haitians and sell them as slaves. The going price, $3.50 each.
Well, even so, it's been a lovely day here in New York today. The weather now, Stormfield.
All right, thanks, Bill. It was gorgeous out. A great day to take a walk, a great day to do just about anything you wanted to do. I'd like to say that weather is going to continue with us, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a changeable picture behind us and in front of us for the rest of this week. Looks like we're going to be getting a little bit more humid as it goes along, back into those summertime temperatures and the summertime heat and humidity. Our temperature right now, a comfortable 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 degrees Celsius. The humidity is not too bad. We have onshore winds about 57%, but the THI at this time is 75, so right on the border. Most people finding this rather pleasant, very comfortable out. Enjoy it now while you can, because the rest of this week is going to be much less comfortable. Take a look at our barometric pressure falling off somewhat, 29.93. Our winds right now, as they have been shifting back and forth in a northerly direction, they're now northwest at 11 miles an hour. They have been shifting around to the northeast coming off the water for most of the day today, also about 10, 11 miles an hour. Our high for today got up to about 81 degrees. First hit 81 sometime around 3:45, close to 4 o'clock this afternoon. The low of 67 degrees was hit about 6 o'clock this morning. Overall, not too far from the normal low and normal high. 85 the normal high, 68 the normal low, pretty close to that normal split. The records for this date, 96 degrees in 1936 and 55 degrees, the record low, 1927. Our air quality today was fine. Tomorrow also is going to be good, but that's about the only thing that we can really say is going to be fine for tomorrow, the air quality, because I think the weather is going to be getting a little bit more sticky, a little bit more humid as we go along. Let's take a look at our map. What you're looking at it, again, is that frontal line. Now, remember we showed it to you yesterday. This front that was driving right across our region has now moved well south of us. There's only one problem. We've got a low-pressure storm center. Now, this doesn't really seem to be kicking up much of a problem, and our frontal line right in here really just petered out. Most of whatever shower activity stayed over the lakes and never got to us. We've got a rather strong high-pressure system building up of hot, humid air down here in the south. It's going to start pushing that frontal line back the other way, and with enough impulse from this low up here, well north and west of us, we could be getting ourselves some clouds and showers, but definitely humid conditions. We'll come back and take a look at the forecast for the next couple of days, and humid is the watchword after this.
On tomorrow's Good Morning New York, we'll take a look at Betsy Johnson's New Wave fashion.
And Arthur Ashe is going to be on the show as well, so join us, won't you?
You want a bite, Pumpkin?
She can't chew that.
Whoops. You're the baby expert.
No, it's just right. Everything for Karen has to be just right. Even her clothes need special care.
Oh, so you wash them in this?
For that ivory snow softness. I think it's just right.
Ivory Snow starts with pure soap. That's what gives babies' clothes that Ivory Snow softness.
Soft.
Just right.
Ivory Snow, just right for babies' clothes.
Maurice Valenci flies throughout the world to find furniture you won't find everywhere else.
How did the German engineers at Volkswagen combine luxury and performance? Drive our new Quantum, and you'll see.
We take a look at our moving satellite stills from earlier this morning, and you'll notice again as that frontal line dropped down across our region, what happened to all the clouds? Right in here, some scattered cloudiness around, a little bit of a haze, as you can see in here, but most of the heavy clouds and the showers associated with this stayed well to the north and west of us, right across the Great Lakes. The front almost broke down as it moved across our region. Down here, what looks like nice clear skies and sunshine, it is sunny, but it is very hot. Temperatures well into the 90s, very humid, moist air, and that is what is coming towards us for the rest of this week. Our latest satellite picture taken late this afternoon again shows lots of clear skies around, but you'll notice all the white little dots right down and through here. All that is thunderstorm outbreaks, and some of those could be coming up for tomorrow, let's say afternoon or early evening. As we take a look at our forecast then for tonight, should be a beautiful night out, a great night to be out. Partly cloudy, mild, 70 degrees. The THI should be low, so it should be comfortable for most of us. Then for tomorrow, it's going to be a combination kind of day. That frontal line, the warm front is backing up on us, going the other way. We should see some sunshine. We're going to see some clouds. It is going to be more humid than today, and there's a good possibility of maybe a shower or a thunder shower in the latter part of the afternoon. In the evening, partly cloudy, continued warm, continued quite humid. Readings about 5 degrees warmer than we will have tonight. And not much of a change on Thursday as the heat really comes back with a vengeance. Readings getting well up into the 90s. A good day to maybe head for the beach, right? Roger?
Well, it was about 2 weeks back we first told you about a 3-foot lizard that got away from its owner. Since then, some people in Long Island have lived in fear of meeting up with the creature. Maxine Black tells us it's over.
I'm standing in front of the home of Richard Renda, and tonight Mr. Renda is in mourning because Spot the lizard, his pet lizard, is dead. This is what Mr. Renda told us. Witnesses told him that a woman in the neighborhood who lived about a half a mile from his home spotted the lizard. She was absolutely terrified. She summoned an off-duty police officer, and he allegedly shot the lizard. Apparently, this lizard had been part of a widespread neighborhood search for at least 3 weeks. He had escaped from his glass tank around July 10th. There were some people who were concerned because the lizard is 3 feet long and black and yellow, and to some can be a bit disarming. But with me now is Mr. Renda, and he says that Spot would not have harmed anyone.
Well, it's true. 2 of the boys in the neighborhood had Spot in a net last week, and he didn't try to attack them. He didn't try and bite them. He just slithered out of the net and ran the other way, you know. He wasn't concerned with human beings.
You mentioned you might be taking some legal action.
Well, there is a point here that a gun was fired in a residential area, and it should be looked into, the fact that it was somebody's pet. It wasn't a definite shoot situation. It wasn't threatening to any human beings. The lizard was just hanging out, and somebody took it within their jurisdiction to fire an arm.
Okay, so there is sadness here in Melville, Long Island. Spot the lizard is dead at the age of 3. Reporting from Melville, Long Island, I'm Maxine Black, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Hoping your news is good news, I'm Roger Grimsby.
And I'm Bill Butel. Thanks for being with us. Good luck and be well.
Eyewitness News is New York's #1 television newscast.
It's Crazy Eddie's Christmas sale in August. Crazy Eddie's Christmas sale in August going on now with prices that are insane.
It's ShopRite's annual Manager's Sale Weeks, and all ShopRite store managers and department managers are working extra hard to bring you extra savings, extra selection, extra freshness throughout the store. In the dairy department, ShopRite dairy managers have put together some very special savings on Armour bacon. A 1-pound package is just $1.59, and Keller's butter is just $1.69. ShopRite Manager's Sale Weeks.
Come on in!
Find out if you're one of 14 million people in this country with a hearing problem all next week at Channel 7's first annual hearing clinic. Call for the location nearest you.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tuck's medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact. Creams and ointments work hard, but if you also use Tuck's, you'll get even more relief. Of proctologists surveyed, 95% often add Tuck's to treatment programs they recommend. When your hemorrhoids flare up, fight fire with Tuck's. Tuck's, for more relief than creams or ointments alone.
Where were you in 55 tonight at 7:30?
Good evening, I'm Ernie Anastas on Eyewitness News. Tonight at 11 o'clock, we're going to take you inside the car of the future. GM has taken the wraps now off their new baby, and we're going to show it to you tonight at 11 o'clock. Our special report tonight looks at clone rock. Is that really Mick Jagger singing on stage or just an imitator? Louis Young looks at the newest thing in rock and roll bands that impersonate others. And also tonight, special coverage of the mini skirt contest at 11. Now stay tuned for ABC's World News Tonight.